Hello, hello. Welcome to our March Spine of the Month book chat. Our March book for Women's History Month was The Other Princess by Denny S. Bryce, and she's going to join us today to talk about her amazing historical fiction novel. She is here. And this is the first time I think we've done it on a weekday night. We normally do it on Saturday, but thank you guys. Come on in, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on a Wednesday hump day evening. Like I said, we typically do this on the weekend, but we had to do it tonight. I'm so glad you guys are here. Also, let me know if you guys like it better during the weekday and the evening. Maybe we can switch it up every now and then. So Denny is here. Let me request her. You can hear me okay? Hello.
I'm here. I'm trying.
You are here. Thank you.
Yay!
Yay, I see you. You are
Well,
here.
how's my lighting?
Let me see.
I can't tell. I have to change glasses.
I,
That would help a little.
it's good. I can see you.
Okay, that's a good sign.
Mine's super bright because my room is so dark. So I
There
try
we
to
go.
make sure that it's
I think that's
okay.
a
There we
little
go.
better.
Yes,
Yay. Well,
that's
how
a
are
little
you?
better. Let me get
Good, good.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm today was a little stormy here in
Same here
Savannah.
right now.
Oh
I was hoping like, please
yeah.
don't let my power go off. I sent
Right,
you a message.
right. Fingers crossed for all of that. Yeah, well, between that and just busy
Yes.
getting ready to hit the road next week, I'm doing a little bit of traveling to talk about some of my books.
Let me
Actually, a lot of traveling through the month of April.
listen. You were just here and I missed you because my mom had a knee replacement, so I wasn't able to come. But you were just in DC and I was so upset that I missed you. But
Oh, well, I'll
I
be
know you're
back.
I know you're coming back, so we're going to talk about that. I'm so
Right.
happy to have you here because I mean I've been reading your books, and so I'm like I finally had the opportunity to be connected and have you on. I mean I wanted to highlight this
Oh,
book, perfect
thank
book,
you.
perfect book for Women's History Month because I don't think a lot of people knew about this story. I know I didn't know about the story,
Yeah.
so I'm going to do a quick intro. And one thing that I like to do,
Okay.
I like to let authors tell our audience a little bit about themselves and
Okay.
anything that
I can.
you want to share about the book, but we don't do spoilers here. I mean, this is a different book
Okay.
club where we talk about the book, but we don't do spoilers. I think I still want people to go and read the story and purchase the book. So
Okay.
with that
Okay.
being said, um, welcome to all of our new folks and welcome back to our returning Diverse Spine Squad members. I'm Jamise Harper, and this is our March Spine of the Month book chat with Denny S. Bryce for The Other Princess. Great story. I mean, amazing story. It was such a journey. And I will say this about you. I'm gonna let you introduce yourself, but I'm gonna say you definitely like master historical fiction.
Oh,
I like,
thank you.
I mean, I've read, this is my third, I think,
Mm-hmm.
of your books. And like, historical fiction is my favorite.
Oh,
And
good,
I
good.
just love the amount of care and research that you put into your books.
Oh, thank you. Thank
And
you very much. That means a lot. That means a lot because
yeah,
honestly, I've only written three books. Well, I've written five,
yes.
but there are only three. And I shouldn't say only. I'm very happy that there are three out in the world. Actually, four. Is it four?
It's
One, two,
four.
three, four.
I
Oh my
was like,
goodness,
wait
I'm
a minute.
losing count.
I'm thinking Wild Women in the Blues, which is my first one, which is
Yes,
great.
yes.
If you guys have not read that, you have to read Wild Women and the Blues. In the Face of the Sun,
Right. That's number two.
The Other Princess,
Number
and
three.
then hold
I
on a
have it
second.
too.
Can't We Be Friends?
Yes, co-authored with Eliza Knight.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
And then you have a new book coming out April 23rd. And I'm like, you are cranking out these books.
It's
April
July
23rd,
23rd.
July
Don't
23rd.
say
Okay, July
don't scare
23rd.
me.
So I'm going to tell you on one of your things, I think Goodreads has it as April.
Yeah, it used to be April, and
Okay,
then
so
it
it's July.
moved.
Okay, perfect.
So retailers have a tendency to be a little bit later. Even
Okay,
Goodreads are having the wrong dates and stuff like
I
that.
got you. So that's
But
the
they'll catch up.
trial of Mrs. Rhinelander.
Yes, yes, and that's another historical fiction inspired by a true
Yeah.
story. But
So let's.
I'll tell you about them.
Okay, so I want you to tell us a little bit about yourself because I find your
Okay,
story quite
thank
interesting that you were a
you.
dancer. So tell us a little
Yeah.
about yourself, and then let's talk about getting into your publishing journey.
Okay. Okay. Well, about myself. Well, I've been someone who has enjoyed writing for years and years. However, I took another path to being an author.
Mm-hmm.
I was originally a professional dancer when I came out of college. I did that for 10 years. I danced in New York and Chicago. I was on a touring company. I started in the craziness of ballet, believe it or not, and then moved into modern dance. After that experience, while I was involved with different dance companies, I was always the default press release writer.
Oh, okay.
And so I, always had my fingers in something. And I went from dance into working in public relations and marketing. Worked in Chicago at some companies there, Edelman Public Relations, um, some other big firms, and doing that thing. And then I started my own business. And I had a marketing and PR firm that handled events for a number of years, a couple of decades, frankly.
Okay.
And most recently, when I was in DC, my largest former client, the Women's Business Enterprise National Council, sponsored the event that a launch party we had at the East City Bookshop. And
Oh,
so
okay.
that
Yeah.
was so much fun. I hadn't seen a lot of those folks since 2019. I moved out of the DC area in 2020,
Mm-hmm.
I believe. Yeah, heading here to Savannah. So there's all that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what else? I have a grown son, and he and his wife, 14 months ago, had their first
Oh,
child. And so
congratulations.
I'm a grandma,
Yay.
except we keep that on the down low.
Okay.
Um, and what else can I say? Yeah, I had the opportunity to travel a lot, do a lot, meet a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people. Um, being an event planner for some major events in almost every one of what we used to call the top 20 ADI
Mm-hmm.
markets, area of dominant influence is what the phrase used to be. And so I've traveled throughout the US, spent a lot of time overseas in some cities. So it's really exciting to have the opportunity to tell stories, historical fiction, either based on, inspired by real people,
Mm-hmm.
and either the African American story or the Black experience, be it in America or in the UK or in
Mm-hmm.
Africa, what have you. So, as a Jamaican, first generation Jamaican, it's really, and Bermudan. My mom was Jamaican, my dad was Bermudan. So, I had an opportunity to sort of have a feeling for the UK as through the family history, if you will.
So how did you get to, what was your journey to publishing? Like, how did your first novel,
My
how did you,
first
mhm.
novel, my first story written
Oh,
and exposed to public, whatever. I wrote a lot of fan fiction.
okay.
It was my way of relaxing back in the
Mm-hmm.
day. So my fandom was Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Okay.
So I wrote, my favorite coupling, if you will, was Buffy and Spike. And so I wrote a lot of that. And
Okay.
that was my relaxation at the end of a busy workday. And through that, I met another fanfic writer who happened to be a member of an organization called the Romance Writers of America. And she invited me to join her in one of their summer conferences. So I started hanging out at conferences because they were a fun
Yeah.
vacation. Uh, I wasn't really thinking at the time about writing because I was so busy with my business. So I hung out with those folks and then got more and more involved in that type of writing. I'm not a romance writer, but in every one of my stories, you're going to find a love
Yes,
story. That's
there's
for
a love
sure.
story for sure.
Always something going
Uh-huh.
on that level. So that's really how I got involved. But then I started writing and entering contests.
Mhm.
I was a real contest junkie. And that helped me considerably because I found my first agent and eventually just interacted with so many fabulous authors who ended up being blurbing my first book. People like Julia Quinn,
Mhm.
people, some of these authors who'd been in the biz a long time and had a lot of name recognition knew me from the concert circuit.
Okay.
Concert
Concert.
contest
Contest. Yes.
contests and conferences and things
Mhm.
like that. I like to volunteer, so I got involved in that sort of end of it and got to know a lot of people in publishing,
That's
from
very interesting.
agents and editors and things like that.
Yeah.
So that was very enjoyable until
Mhm.
it wasn't,
Mhm.
and then I ended up. My first book, it was bought in 2019
Mhm.
by Kensington,
Yes.
and Essie Soga was the editor there at the time. She's no longer at Kensington, she's at Berkeley now. But she really helped me tremendously with my first novel, Wild Women in the Blues.
And someone said in
And
the comments that it was phenomenal, which it was, but they said that it needed a soundtrack. A soundtrack. And I
I,
can't agree more,
I,
for sure.
I, I I had a Spotify playlist, but
Okay.
yeah, I hear you with that because people have said something similar when it comes to the Can't We Be Friends book because of all of the music.
Yes.
And I'm a music person. I love all forms of
Hmm.
music. I have a special place in my heart for R&B and jazz, classic R&B.
Yeah.
I actually listen to hip hop
Mhm.
and some other forms of music. I love music and classical music. One of the anytime I do research, in fact, it's one of the first places I begin.
Oh,
Is what were the sounds? What was the entertainment, musical, dance energy of the time?
that's
So
very interesting.
yeah, it
Yeah.
tells a lot about what's important to people.
Hmm.
In 1850s, in The Other Princess, Mendelssohn was a composer of the time, and he was very popular in Queen Victoria's court.
Hmm.
And his one of his compositions became the Wedding March. That is a classic. It was played first for the Princess Royal Victoria's wedding back in 18 something.
Uh-huh.
I can't remember all the dates, but it is mentioned in the book. Also, studying the African instruments, musical instruments from that time period, gave me a way to get connected to that. Um, what were the sounds again of those
I
times and
love
those
that.
people? I love music so much. It informs so much of what I do.
And you definitely had to lean into that a lot for Wild Women in the Blues.
Oh
Oh,
yes.
yes.
Oh yes. But then I also leaned into my former dance
You
life as
know what?
well.
And when I read that you were a dancer, I said, "Oh, it makes sense now. It completely makes sense." So for you guys, if you haven't read Wild Women in the Blues, read that book, and then you'll totally understand what we're talking about. But it comes through your
Yeah.
experience, the vibe between the dancers, everything.
Thank you. It as I said, it's an automatic connection for me with the time period, the atmosphere. What were the top songs playing
Hmm.
during? Usually, oftentimes, except for the 1850s, I'm in a time period where there's
Yeah.
radio,
Yes.
and or at least there's a Victrola. Something is playing something and the jazz scene, the music scene, the blues, jazz, swing. The
Mm-hmm.
changes in music that I learned about working on the Can't We Be Friends, Ella Maryland story, because Ella Fitzgerald, and when the book really starts in the 1950s, she'd been in the business for 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
And the jazz scene had changed dramatically, especially post World War II.
Mm-hmm.
So, understanding the dynamics of music as it relates to the entertainment industry, as it relates to careers, and the interaction and the evolution of jazz, and also the spread of jazz, because at first jazz was, of course, it's an African American
Mm-hmm.
origin story, if you will, when it comes to jazz. And you have Louis Armstrong in New Orleans and all of that, but then it spread into the big band era. And you had
Yeah.
Bing Crosby,
Crosby.
and
Mm-hmm.
Sinatra, and it goes on and on. So and those were some of the contemporaries of Ella in the 50s.
So before we dive into the other princes, I have to know. So you go conferences, you're doing fan fiction, and you're doing contests.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're writing historical fiction, and I want to know why historical fiction. What
Okay.
do you love about it? Because I love historical fiction. I feel like if I'm reading a historical fiction book, it has to, number one, send me on a journey when I put that book down. If
Yeah.
it doesn't inspire me to pick up and find out more about what's like, of course, most of the time it's something that I've never heard of, right?
Yeah.
Or I'm
Yeah.
learning more about something that I
Mm-hmm.
already know. And so it always has to push me to go down that rabbit hole where I need to find out. I knew nothing about this story.
Oh my goodness. I didn't either until 2016. And in 2016, I barely connected with it because I saw it on a PBS Masterpiece Theater TV series, and I think the name of the series was Victoria. I
Mm,
can't remember the star of the show, but I know she played on Doctor Who because I'm a Doctor Who fan. But in one episode, there's a young Black girl that's a part of Queen Victoria's court, and I just sort of watched it and didn't quite ask any questions.
mm-hmm,
I just sort of saw it. And then a few years, a number of years later, the editor at William Morrow, Tessa Woodward, she put out a tweet that said, "How come nobody's written about Sarah Forbes Bonetta?" And I ignored it the first time I saw it because I was like, I had one of my author friends, Vanessa Riley. I said to
yes.
her, "I'm not going to write anything except American Black history, 20th century, blah, blah." I was making all these grandiose statements about what I was and wasn't going to do after writing only two books. So, so I ended up digging in and creating a proposal, doing some research, fell in love with finding so much original material about her, about Sarah Forbes Bonetta, about her first name, Aina,
Uh-huh.
Aina, about her journey as written in her words
Mm,
in many cases, in addition to Walter Dean Myers, who was a children's author.
mm-hmm,
And in 1999, I believe his book, Her Majesty, At Her Majesty's Request, came out after he'd been introduced to her through a bookseller in London, who, an old bookstore, found all of this information and called his friend in America, Walter Dean Myers, and said, "Hey, I know you'll love this mess. So come on over and let me give it to you so you can dive in." Because that was the type of guy he was in terms of digging into history.
and so we brief description. Let's talk about the story because it's an African princess who's raised in Queen Victoria's court.
Exactly. She was born in West Africa. She was raised by her father was a chieftain of his community. back during the 1840s and even before, the tribes in Africa had conflict. And some of those tribes were in the slavery
Yes.
business.
Hmm.
And one of them was a guy by the name of King Gizo. And the Dahomey, or that's where he now, I think the Dahomey is now Benin, for
Hmm.
those who are looking at the African continent. And he was in the slavery business, and he was also in the business of conquering neighbors.
Hmm.
And he conquered the town, the village where she lived, and killed her family.
Hmm.
And that, and then she spent time in his enslavement camp, and was discovered there by a captain, a lieutenant commander, Frederick Forbes. And he was a British officer. And part of what he did, which was an amazing story in
Yes.
itself, because he wrote 2 journals about his travels to Africa, was to work with the different tribes and try to convince them to stop participating in the business of slavery.
Hmm.
Because in Britain in 1834, that's when there was a law passed that it was illegal. However, that only changed new, you couldn't acquire new
Yes.
slaves or enslave new people, but if you had slaves, you still kept them. So
Hmm.
it was complicated, as
Yes.
always, complicated scenarios. But that young woman and her life after it being saved, if you
Hmm.
will, from enslavement, is a fascinating story.
It
She
is.
had so many different experiences, interactions with the
Hmm.
Queen's court, with the royal family, with Africa, and with some leading figures throughout the time she spent, be it in West Africa or be it in England, in the royal family entourage, if you
Right.
will.
Because I mean, even being a part of the royal family entourage, she still is herself a princess
Yes,
in her land.
yes,
And
and I
she,
yes,
go ahead.
and that was important to me to use, because there are some researched items through her life and some letters that she wrote that for me gave me a very clear picture of the type of personality
Hmm.
that I felt she exhibited. And that personality was one of pride,
Yes.
intelligence, and she wanted to be safe.
Hmm.
That was very important. After all of the
Yeah.
hardships and tragedies she experienced, her primary objective, I felt in very many ways, was survival at
Hmm.
the best possible level.
Right.
Hmm.
And so are you thinking that the best possible level for her was to remain a part of this family and to
Absolutely,
be with
because
this family? Hmm.
the women, any woman during that time period, was totally dependent upon who she married,
Yes.
her family connections. Someone had to be paying the bills because she had no way
Right.
to make money. I mean, there were people making money. There were, you could be a domestic, you could be all of these other things, but that was not necessarily the case
Hmm.
if you were of African descent in Great Britain. There were many Africans in Britain, and their careers went from blacksmith to ministers to, legal jobs. There were lots of opportunity in that area, but still, it was a very much segregated, prejudiced,
Yes. Hmm.
racist
Racism. Absolutely.
society.
Yes. The one thing I kept thinking about, she's taken, her family's killed, so we're not giving anything away, you guys. This is like
Yeah.
her family's murdered and she's taken away. And I'm just wondering, she's missing the mothering.
Yeah.
And so how do you think, it was, I mean, any part of your research lead you to learn anything or have a sense of how the mothering came from Queen Victoria?
The mothering did
Yes.
not come from Queen Victoria.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is also something that is known.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you only skim the top of the Victorian family
Mm-hmm.
or Victorian era, she was not known for her mothering.
Yeah.
She may have had a bunch of babies,
Yes.
like 10
And she had
or
good
something.
relationships. She had like good relationships with the children.
But she had great relationships, but she also had a team of people taking care of them.
Yes.
And
No,
so,
I mean, Princess Sarah had a great relationship. She spent time with
oh
the,
yeah,
yes.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yes, that was a bond. That was a
Yes.
definite bonding
Mm-hmm.
that happened from her earliest days spent in the royal household. And definitely there had to be a connection between her and Princess Alice
Mm-hmm.
because they were the same age.
Yes.
So there were some opportunities. There are photos of them in what they call the pony cart sled in the winter and things like that, because that's some of the activities that they engaged in. But yes, very much about the about mothering. You asked about the question of mothering. Those women who ended up taking care of her, again, that's part in the story. She had a very close connection with
Mm-hmm.
them. That the wives of the different households she spent time.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So tell me, so you're talking about where did the research take you? Did you travel abroad? Did you like
I
talk a
did.
little about?
I had been to Windsor Castle several years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and I've been to London on 2 or 3 different occasions, but I didn't travel per se for this. The place I wanted to go, but I haven't made it there yet, is Africa, of
Mm-hmm.
course. But I will get there.
Yes.
Um, but with West Africa, what I was looking at in terms of the type of research that I love to do, especially in DC, is the Library of Congress. And
Yes.
at the Library of Congress, there's a place that I love to hang out called the Map Room.
Mm-hmm.
And when you go into the Map Room, you say to the people there, the librarians and what have you, I'm looking for how the world looked in 18 blank.
Mm-hmm.
Bring me a map
And
of
then,
this town, this geography, and there it is. And there's these huge, gigantic maps. And so being able to know London through physically seeing where the roads were, where the
mm-hmm.
railroads traveled, et cetera, how far away. The other bit of research that was so informative that I loved was something as simple as ancestry.com.
Mm-hmm.
The Brits do a very good job of maintaining their census
Yes.
reports.
Uh-huh.
And so I was able to look, I could have gone back for lots of time
Mm-hmm.
and found not only census on different families, but their neighborhood, the entire their neighbor here, their neighbor there, house number, and everybody. The funniest thing in the book I'm working on now, or just finished, um, in the newspapers, they in the old days they used to print your address
Oh,
and phone number.
yeah.
Chicago Defender
Uh-huh.
was notorious for they live over on blankety blank street in this
Yes.
house. Which never would happen today, or hopefully that's what they have a doxing. They call
Mm-hmm.
it doxing now, but I throw their addresses in there all the time.
And so what surprised you the most writing this? I mean, like you you've said you heard her name on a PBS story and then someone tweets about her.
Mm-hmm.
And so like what makes you say, "Hey, I'm going to take this journey and I'm going to tell the world about this person?" Because I literally I always think it's so special when an author takes on, revealing an unknown person in history.
Yeah.
Not
Yes.
known by many people. It's a huge feat to take that on and to write about that and kind of bring it to life. And
There
so
was a letter she wrote, and I
mhm,
can't give a lot of it
don't.
away, but it showed me just how stubborn she was.
Mm-hmm.
I think you can guess if if you read it.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, whoa,
Mm-hmm.
okay, you interest me, you know. So that was definitely um, a pivotal point in my research where I got very excited about writing about her because she had a mind of her own.
Yes.
She had such a will to not only survive, but to have a life that she felt was worth living
Mm-hmm.
her way. And that was, frankly, so brave, so different for, you know, really thinking about her background,
Right.
her from where she came and what she'd experienced, to have that much um, just compassion for her own life. You
Right.
know, I was like, wow, you're interesting. You're very interesting.
I think one of the things, so when I first came across the book, and automatically I'm intrigued because it says, you know, she was a Black woman in
Hmm.
Queen Victoria's court. And I'm thinking, what?
Yeah, yeah, yes, she was. She
Goddaughter, nonetheless. And then you think about present day, you know, the whole Meghan Markle not wanting to, you know, interracial marriage. I'm thinking, like, really now?
absolutely. But there are some parallels. I
Yes.
think if you know, you know, no spoilers,
Oh,
but there's some parallels that had me going, and
yes.
that I also felt um, made sense in
Hmm.
terms of storytelling because it is fiction.
It is
It
fiction.
is
Yes.
fiction. I was not in the room when it happened.
Exactly.
So
Yes.
the dialogue, but it's inspired by information gathered, by research completed,
Hmm.
and digging a little deeper. Um, I go back to my old journalism skill set. You know, you take in all the information and then you build the news
Right.
story, starting with the, you know, inverted triangle, et cetera, et cetera. What's your lead? What's your headline?
Hmm.
And that, with her, just kept being crystal clear at every point in the story. So I enjoyed that process tremendously.
So you, okay, because that was
Combine
my next question. Like, what did you enjoy most about writing this book? Because, you know, you're writing, like, I'm, I think I commented on your, one of your posts when I found out this book is coming out in July. And I'm like, you are giving it to us. And I just want to know what's your process? I mean, are you outlining? Because I mean, you are like, you're doing this research and you are giving us these historical fiction books like back to back to back. We appreciate
Yes,
it.
I know. My whole mindset knows. I mean, this is just these things just happen sometimes,
Yes.
and not complaining because it's exactly what I want to be doing. Um, what happens for me is that I am an outliner. I'm
Okay.
also a research nerd. I love digging. I love, and I've learned to dig more effectively.
Okay.
I think with Wild Women in the Blues, I know with Wild Women in the Blues, it took me 6 years to write that book. Okay. And then when it was purchased, when it got bought, it still needed a lot of work.
Mhm.
So, but the research is something that I built up, you know, I now have a structure, a formula,
Mhm.
um, an approach to outlining my story. Um, I do with any story, whether it's predominantly or primarily fiction. If it's historical, I find those benchmarks in time
Mhm.
and I put them in place and I don't touch them in terms of this has happened then, this happened then. You know, the Savoy Ballroom in 1935 was still one of the most frequented dance halls in Chicago, blah, blah, blah. I know that.
Mhm.
So I know when the war began, when the Great War ended, and then I know some of the circumstances of how the Second World War began and what were the international dynamics. So you put those in play. And when you're working in America in the 20th century, for example,
Mhm.
um, early 20th century, to whatever point in time, there are just certain things that are so clearly
Right.
benchmarked. And that speaks to what's happening in society at that point in time. Like I have a story in The Face of the Sun, takes
Yes.
place in 1968 and 1928. And the dynamics of 1928, departing from Chicago post the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr., just before, and having the story take place in that time period, April, May,
Mm-hmm.
June. And what happened in June? The murder of Robert F.
Yeah.
Kennedy in
Mm-hmm.
California. So my what's the world looks a certain way during that time versus 1928
It's
when
different. Mm-hmm.
when something is happening very different in California.
Yes.
So looking at history in terms of cultural benchmarks, I mean, for historical benchmarks and events, and then taking a look at how people made money and what were the events, society, what was happening with society's attitude towards women,
Yeah.
marriage, family, goes on and on.
And I literally hearing you talk about it, it's like ringing true with all of your stories. I mean, I didn't know. I mean, think it's fascinating that you start with music,
Yeah,
number one,
I
and then
always
the
do.
outline and the historical facts that are going on, things that were popular. Um, but even in this book, if I'm not mistaken, you even captured the way that the river smelled.
Oh, well, spending time around rivers, but also but the geography
Yes.
of a land, of a time period, and
Mm-hmm.
imagination, those combinations. But also, I'm a documentary freak,
Okay.
and I love documentaries about animal life and about just historical moments in time. I'm waiting for more historicals or documentaries, excuse me, that explore the history of Africa,
Oh,
of the
okay.
various major, I mean, you can read about them, but I love to watch a good documentary. And one of the ones that gave me a lot of sense of style and time, not so much
Mm-hmm.
smell, but had to do with, oh, I can't remember his name right now, but it's a fabulous documentarian who did What on the Jazz Age. That was just one of the more informative documentaries I've ever watched. But going back to smell, I was trying to think about why would I was raised on a
Mm-hmm.
farm, and plant life. My grandmother, who raised me primarily, she, being a Jamaican, she, even though she was living in America, she treated everything around her like she was on the island.
Mm.
So we lived near a river. She grew everything. There was animals that I had to deal with.
Yes.
I'll leave it at that. you know, but she was just there was that feeling for the earth and for those things. And I'm a big traveler and love those things a lot.
Yeah, I think this is a book that like needs to be like in a school so people can read about this part of history that we do not know anything about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, so let me talk to a little bit about, and was there anything that was like difficult for you to write about in telling the story?
Um, yes, there were definitely the early part of the story,
Yeah.
her experiences in with the Dahomey.
Mm-hmm.
Um, uh, at the time I was writing, there the Woman King was out, and there was another conversation because that's King Gizo is the
Yeah.
same, much younger, very
Mm-hmm.
early in his reign, if you will. My story takes place much later in his reign, but knowing the difference between the word Amazon, which we are so familiar with, is a British adaptation. The Africans didn't call the warriors Amazons.
Mm.
That was the Brits. And now I'm trying to remember because I don't want to mispronounce it, but I probably will. Agoji was the actual name. So just looking at that aspect of the story was at the time, especially at the time I was writing, it was challenging.
Yeah.
It was
Yes.
challenging.
I know when I first picked it up and I was reading and I saw Dahomey and I was kind of like, wow.
Yeah. That
It
was
gave me
made
pause.
challenging because there was so much information out there that was, I remember there were even debates in social media about, who was writing this? What was the perspective? Is this true? Is this not true? I went with what was true based on the research
Right.
that I was doing for the story I was writing. I did, and also understanding perspective. My perspective was not Gizo's perspective. My perspective was primarily for her, but also in the early part of the book, Lieutenant Commander Frederick Forbes. And his journals written in 1854, I mean, they were published in 1855, but his journals were written in 1840s and 1850s, and one of them is primarily about finding her.
Yes.
And includes sketches and all sorts of information. So that's the story that I researched and went with. Any other debates, I didn't go back to his early life to see whatever, or to debate that. It wasn't a debate in my mind.
It wasn't part of your story.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yes. Understood. So fast forward now, you are coming out with another historical fiction book.
Yes.
And I want to give space to talk about this book because once again, I don't know if you have like something to show so people can see the cover, but I just got it.
Oh, you did? Good.
I did. And so I was very fascinated by this one yet again, as someone else that we
may or may not know about. I'm trying to, I didn't bring it over. I'm trying to span.
Oh, there it is.
Okay,
so before you start, I want to say your covers.
A blessing.
Like you can look at them and know, okay, they convey exactly what the story is about.
Yeah.
And do you
I've been fortunate.
You have any input whatsoever? Like the Wild Women in the Blues, it was just
that I do have input.
Okay, good.
I have had input. I guess my background in marketing and public relations, and I spent a lot of time with art. I'm also a big art fan and things like that. So with Wild Women in the Blues, we had maybe 5-6 treatments before we got to that particular piece of art. And when that particular piece of art came through, everybody just said, that's it.
Yeah.
There was no more conversation. But it took those first 3 or 4, or I think there were 5 treatments for us to get there. The second book, similar, even though it has a different take on the cover. It's very different. This book, they showed me, The Other Princess, they showed it to me and we changed 3 things. Her hair, her dress, and her neckline. Her hair is actually inspired by Danai Gurira, who played, I'm mispronouncing her last name, who plays on The Walking Dead.
Okay.
And during the post-Black Panther film things, her hair was gorgeous and she had this do that I loved, and it was very natural hair. So we sort of
changed her.
Were inspired by that.
Yes. And I'm assuming her hair was flowy at first.
It wasn't flowy. It
Okay.
was just texture
Okay.
wise. It wasn't right. I was like, no, that's not the right texture.
Okay.
Let's put
It's
it like that.
gorgeous.
There were too many waves.
Yeah.
um, so, but still, it was we came with this.
This is
This
gorgeous.
was the cover, except for those three things, and the dress thing was just fitting. Um, you know, I was like, this child is vain,
Yeah.
and she wanted her clothes right.
But she knew who she was.
Yes.
She knew where she came from.
Yeah,
Even
she
though she
did.
didn't have her family with her, she knew where she came from. She knew she was royalty. Even from the very beginning when they were talking about how they let her win because she thought she was
Yes.
great. She knew she was great from the
Yeah.
very beginning.
Yeah, she does. She does. And again, it was as if the research and her words spoke to that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Because even with her mother, I was very, when it comes to the Yoruba naming um, history and the importance of the name, that was somewhat new to
Mm-hmm.
me. And I really dug in on that. And then the thing that surprised me as I was going through going through the research, was that when they named her, the name Sarah also means princess.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, she knew.
Yes.
It was like it was all around her.
Yeah.
Everything that was happening was all around her.
And so
But
the
yeah,
trial of Mrs. Rhinelander. Back
yes,
to the
yes,
Roaring
yes.
20s. We're going back to
Oh,
the
back
20s.
to my time
Yeah.
period. It
I love
begins.
that period.
I
Absolutely love that period.
love it too, but this is a different type of tale.
Mm-hmm.
In that, the Rhinelander story is about a young woman named Alice Jones, and she falls in love with a guy named Kip Rhinelander, or Leonard Kip Rhinelander. She's a domestic.
Mm-hmm.
He is the real estate heir.
Yes.
He's Mr. Fifth Avenue money, 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 money. And the key point of the story is they marry, and then they are embroiled in a divorce, and actually an annulment initially, but the annulment is brought about by the husband because he claims his wife never told him she was a Negro.
Black. Yes.
Yeah, so
Uh-huh.
it goes from there.
Yes.
Um, it's another dual timeline. I like
Mhm.
just sort of, but 1940s and 1920s.
Okay.
And New Amsterdam News, a major newspaper, black newspaper, a weekly back in the day, still a weekly, I believe, um, is part of the story. But there was so much that happened, and it's one of those things. You look up Rhinelander, you Google Rhinelander, you're going to get a lot of
Mm-hmm.
information. This was headline news.
Yeah.
And keeping in mind that in the 20s, the newspaper was Facebook, Twitter,
All together.
Instagram, all rolled into one. Everybody was flying for the morning edition, the evening edition, the afternoon edition of whatever newspaper. And this story that kicked off in New York was across the country.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knew about Rhinelander. And it also was happening 1925, by the time we get to 1925 or 24, 25. During that time period, there were also two other huge stories in the newspaper. One was Leopold and Loeb, that was out of Chicago. Two young men murdered a young boy to see if they could, two wealthy young men murdered a boy just to see if they could get away with it.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was the Stokes monkey trial, was the other huge news story, along with
Right.
Rhinelander versus Rhinelander.
And so he's claiming, because interracial marriage was not a
It
thing.
was legal in New York.
So he claimed that he didn't know that she was
Fraud.
Black.
His initial claim is fraud.
Yes.
I go no
I
further.
I don't want you to go any further because I want. Okay, so if you missed it, this book is coming out in
July
July. It's the trial of
23rd.
July
Yes.
23rd, the trial of Mrs. Rhinelander,
Mm-hmm.
another historical fiction.
Yes.
I just love what you do. So now here I am. I'm going to do my best. I want to read first, but you're making me want to go Google it, and I'm not going to Google it because I want to read the
Be
book
strong.
first.
Be
Yeah,
strong.
I'm going to try to be strong.
Well, I don't even know how much I dug at what, in terms of history, historical benchmarks, if you will. One of the things that was very intriguing about the story is that there were a lot of dissertations and college, papers that have studied and examined this from so many different
Mm-hmm.
perspectives. Um, and I will say that I may have taken one that could surprise people.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
I want to go back to the young lady that did the tweet that she wished somebody would write about Sarah
Oh
Forbes.
yes, yes. She's the editorial director and might have even a bigger title now. Tessa Woodward.
Tetsa. Did she read it and what did she think?
She's the editor. She
Oh,
was
okay. Oh
my
my gosh.
editor. She bought it after she tweeted. I went and wrote the proposal. She read the proposal and she bought it. And then she was my editor for the book
Are
and
you
had a
kidding
fabulous
me?
experience. Isn't that's one of those stories.
I totally must have missed. That is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, yeah.
What are the
It's
odds?
very I had a little help in terms of getting being aware of her real interest in wanting to see a proposal.
Right.
But I'll tell you something about Tessa. Tessa will sit back and go through whatever she's looking at, and she'll tweet it out if she says, "I don't have this book." I wonder if somebody could write it. I'm not the only person who can tell this particular story.
That
I know
is
some other
absolutely
authors who can.
that
Hmm.
is absolutely amazing.
Well, they sit there and it's what they do is bring stories to life. And if they see one that they think will work, they're
Yes.
going to ask somebody.
Well, I'm glad you answered the call because this
Yes,
book is
I am
all of
too.
your books are well written. Like
Oh, thank
all
you.
of your books are well written. You can tell, like you said, that you like research. You can tell that you put in the work. You can definitely tell for sure.
Yeah, yeah, it's
100%.
fun. It right now I'm in the midst of doing some research that is just, my next book.
I was going to ask what's next. I mean, we know it's coming in July,
Yes.
but I also like that you always give us uplifting Black women.
Well, yes. I mean, story to me, story can be anything. It
Mhm.
needs to be as long as it's connecting to the reader.
Mhm.
Um, I, I, I like to explore women who are striving to accomplish something,
Mhm.
not necessarily always career, not necessarily this, but they're striving for something. They have a goal.
Mhm.
They want to achieve something. Their approach may be a little shaky or could be have facing crazy obstacles that they can do nothing about. But I also want to bring family to the
Yes.
page. I really, there are so many stories. I love books. I love good storytelling. I do enjoy historical fiction a lot. Um, I love stories that take and use history as a
Mhm.
mechanism to tell whatever story it is. With that said, I am I feel strongly there are too many stories to tell, not about Black family, about
Mhm.
Black women, about Black men. There are so many, I shouldn't say too many, so many
Yes.
stories to
Yeah.
tell. And let's keep telling them. Let's
Absolutely. I mean,
keep
thankful,
telling
so
them.
thankful for you and other writers who are telling these stories, and especially the ones where you're unearthing people that some of us have never heard of before.
Yeah, that's fun
I,
too,
it,
because that's why I get so excited because I'm sitting there like, what?
yeah,
This
It
happened.
makes me emotional because it's like, it's stuff that you think we're supposed to know that we don't know. There's so much history out there, our history, that we don't know. And so it's like for you all to go out there and unearth it and tell the story, be it even if it's a fictional, it makes us go and find out more
Yeah,
about
because
people.
again, those benchmarks, that's
Yes.
what I'm doing. The
Yeah.
book that I'm working on now has a working title of Where the False Gods Dwell. It's my first psychological thriller, historical thriller. And I can say it begins in Chicago. I always liked Chicago as a
Like,
baseline.
I'm
And
already shaking my leg. Like,
has a little boat ride and ends up in a place where my grandmother was born, in the Maroon Village in what they call Cockpit Country in Jamaica
oh,
in 1935. And another character or historical figure in the story is a woman by the name of Catherine Dunham. And Catherine Dunham was a dancer, a famous dancer, black dancer, and in the 1930s, she went on an anthropological expedition. And that's sort of the step off point for this particular story. But Catherine Dunham worked with Martha Graham. She had her own company in Chicago. She's quite a famous African American dancer, choreographer.
the name rings a bell.
Yeah, she's absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Well, I can't wait. Is that one coming out what,
Next year.
September?
No, Jesus, please.
I'm like, you're pulling them out. How long does it take you to write and research? Because literally, when I saw that can't we be friends, and then right after that, you dropped the announcement that, and I'm like, wait a second, she just
I'm
put
all,
out a book.
research is a constant.
Okay.
Okay, research is a constant because I'm always looking for, if not story, what happened,
Mm-hmm.
what was going on then, what's happening in that time period, and in many ways, the stories that I am about to write are found while I'm working on another story.
Oh,
They just, oh, look at that.
mm-hmm.
Okay, put it in a little file, come
Yes.
back to
Come
it.
back
Put
to
it in a
that. Right.
file, come back to it. Yeah.
Well, before I let you go, I have to know, what are you reading and loving right now, if you are reading anything?
I am. I am obsessive on reading. Okay, I even have them
Oh,
here.
good.
Of course.
Of course.
Of course. Got it, have it, reading.
Love.
Yes, she was
Love.
generous. She mentioned, Kennedy Ryan mentioned Can't We Be Friends, co-authored with Eliza Knight on the Today Show.
Yes, she did.
Just fabulous. This lovely book right here just came out, The House on Biscayne Bay by Chanel Cleaton,
Mm-hmm.
one of my faves.
And she loved your book.
Yes, she did. But she's just a constant fave. And then this is the other one that's on my desk
my
next to
gosh.
the bed.
Let me tell
Yeah.
you.
I'm just like rubbing them with love.
I
Um,
love that book.
well,
Love.
I'm just starting right now. What's the one that I have? I'm reading The Women by Christian Hanna.
Oh
my goodness.
incredible.
1960s world, Vietnam.
The combat nurses.
Incredible book. I'm halfway through.
I read I listened to the audiobook.
Yeah.
Incredible.
The audio is great. That's what the reason I can do this is the audio books.
I live by audio.
Yeah. I have to have my audio.
Yeah.
But yes, this is what I'm doing, because I do go in between books.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of a mood thing,
Yes.
We're
so much alike. Like every single book you picked up is like, oh, I'm like,
yes. But those are my favorites.
Yes. You're gonna love. Yeah. I told someone, I said, I love Tia Williams.
Yes.
I'm not a big magical realism person.
Mm-hmm,
I said, but she is probably the first one that made me like literally fall in love with somebody that's not even in this time.
Perfect. My first big love historical fiction was Outlander. I love
Not read
Outlander,
that.
and if you talk about, magical stuff,
Yes.
we got time travel,
Yes.
we got this, that, and the other.
I
But
can't get into it, but
her
I heard good things about that
history,
one.
her writing, oh, her love story, oh my God,
Okay, I'm
all
gonna give it a
there.
try.
Okay.
I cannot thank you enough for, first of
Oh,
all, for being very accommodating for my schedule. I truly
no,
appreciate that.
no problem.
Um,
Thank you for
it
the
was such a
invitation.
pleasure to have you. I knew this book. I knew this was the book that I wanted for Women's History Month for this year. If you haven't read it, you guys, please check out The Other Princess by Denny S. Bryce. She
Thank
also has out Can't We Be Friends, Denny and
you. Yeah.
Eliza McKnight.
Eliza Knight.
Eliza Knight, sorry, Eliza
Yes.
Knight. And
Yes.
then The Trial of Mrs. Rhinelander comes out July 23rd.
Yes, it does.
Yes.
And somewhere
Awesome.
in there, I'm going on a week's vacation.
I hope you deserve it.
Right?
Thank you
Oh,
so much.
oh,
You
thank
guys
you.
have a good evening. Thanks for joining us.
Thank
Okay,
you.
bye-bye.
Bye.